Yo, what is up? It's Tuna. So, just wanted to make a quick recap video on the build, how day 1 went and things like that. So, right now I've gotten to the point where I've started sort of slowly upgrading my build. The build is going pretty well. The league is pretty rough. You know, the league mechanic, I feel like it's a little bit overtuned. Things are like one-shotting you out of nowhere. There's been instances where, you know, it's probably my fault depending on what monoliths and stuff I've broken out. But as you know, softcore gamers, it's pretty hard for us to read modifiers on things, and we just generally try to go for as much juice as possible. So yeah, I ended up being like in a situation one time where one attack would give me one poison stack, and that one poison stack would just completely, you know, kill me from 100 to 0 in like less than half a second. So in some instances, I feel like maybe it's worth to go for some ailment immunity and then putting like poison immunity on your flask or something like that. But essentially, the league's been going pretty well. I think the league mechanic is really interesting, especially logbooks. Logbooks are actually, I think, amazing. They're extremely fun. I really enjoy logbooks. So I went into a couple of them, and I thought they were actually amazing. The fact that you sort of have to pick and choose your rewards, and then you can break paths, and like you can basically like find an entirely new map within the logbook itself. It feels like just a more fun version of Heist for me. I know a lot of people think Heist is fun, and that's completely fine. But for me, it's more of a like a fun version of Heist. So yeah, that's really cool. And in terms of the difficulty and things like that, I feel like there's some things that still feel really rough. We're very early on into the league, so there's gonna be some things that feel, you know, we've obviously lost a lot of power since last league. So we're really feeling it right now. We're feeling like we've been nerfed, and you know, it's always gonna feel like a little bit more rough than what it did last league, obviously. So yeah, we're just gonna like do a little map and sort of show what I do for the league mechanic and whatnot, because I think it's worth talking about the league mechanic. See, this is one of those things that kind of sucks about the league, is not being able to clear your curses and stuff. Something like I get it, but it's I don't think it's very engaging gameplay. I know what the GGs try to do with the flask and whatnot, try to make it more of a pay attention to the game and feel like your clicks have impact and whatnot, but not being able to clear your your temp chains is sort of like kind of a feels bad situation there for sure. No, you can't get rid of the map curses at all. So what happens actually is that I do have a warding flask right now, but what happens is that you click it and it basically gives you like 0.0, like it's basically just, it just takes a curse off, but it refreshes it, so just puts it straight back on. So it basically does nothing essentially. It just reapplies instantly. That's a little bit annoying. It makes mapping, it doesn't make it any more engaging in my opinion, it just makes it more annoying. And like getting curse immunity is one of those things that like no build can really achieve, honestly, unless you're like built around it, or like it doesn't make any sense to me why they would make the curse thing like this. I understand the ailment part, because ailments is something that like, yeah, you can remove proactively, reactively as you're mapping and things like that, which I still sort of think that's kind of bullshit personally, because when I'm playing Path of Exile, I am never really staring at my character, looking at a status ailment or something like that. And you know, if I'm getting like a shock, I'm okay with that. That's like whatever. But sometimes you get like, especially from the league mechanic, you get like an ignite that completely just wipes you in like 1 second. They have such high base hit damage that it literally just wipes you in like a second, and it doesn't feel that great, because I'm still pianoing my flasks. It doesn't feel like they've really achieved anything in that regard. Probably later on in the league, once we start getting like more instilling orbs and our maps become a little bit more juicy, then maybe like we're gonna get to the point where it's gonna start feeling good, like basically having situations where you have flasks like use a charge upon reaching full, and then having another one it's like used when an adjacent flask is used, which is nice. Like, and then you can have like one flask triggering when it's full, and then using all the adjacent flasks. So basically, just like flask macroing for you as you're going, which I think is really cool. But it's gonna be a thing that we'll have to see once we get into higher tier maps. One thing to note is that you can't do that on mana flask or life flask, which makes sense, right? Because there are more things that like you click them when you need them. Yeah, I would have liked to see a way to also auto trigger those. You know, because you just always want to have it up anyways, but I understand why it's not like that. So yeah, this is the league mechanic. So I felt like there's been two ways to really go about the league mechanic. So first of all, you always want to look at like who's here. I feel like the gamble lady is the most underwhelming, and I seem to be getting a lot more shop rerolls with her. So she's for me the least interesting one. I haven't really gotten too much out of her, but I really like Rug. I think Rug is pretty cool because you can manage to craft some pretty cool items. And let's just say like the main thing that I look for when I get to the league mechanic is I'm looking at these remnants here, and I'm looking for any ones that actually buff the league mechanic as a whole. So you can see here like the quantity of items found and excavated, 50% chance to drop corrupted items, rarity of chests, quantity of items found, rarity once again, increased quantity of artifacts. So that's one that I like, and quantity of logbooks dropped by runic monsters. So the main two that I'm like really interested here in getting is this one, logbooks, because I think logbooks are insane. You get about like maybe 20 chaos out of a single logbook, so that's pretty nice. So these are the two main ones that I'll want to actually go for. So what I'll do is I'll try to put two circles in that take these two remnants. They'll take these two remnants and as many monsters as possible within the radius. And then I'm not going to go for the other remnants because I think they're pretty terrible. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try to aim for as many of these like skulls on the ground as possible, as well as these little pickets here with the chests and stuff. So I will try to like get as many monsters as possible. So I will always take, you see all the little skulls. So one thing to mention is the skulls are basically the monsters. So I will take this one because it's in the way. And actually I should probably go here. So we're going to Control Z twice. We're going to go over here. We're going to take this one. We'll take probably this one here. I think it's better. Let's try to see if I can get both of those in. And there we go. We can get both of those in like that. Maybe 3 of them. There's no way I'm going to get 3 of them. Alright, so we're going to settle for just this. Okay, and we're going to explode it. And then we're going to see, hopefully, that we get a logbook out of this. So, yeah. Actually, hopefully we don't die, because these monsters are actually cracked. Monsters are insane. Yeah, I mean, the build has been doing quite well. This is sort of a red tier map at the moment, and the build does pretty well in these maps as well. It's not too much to worry about. The damage is pretty good. On single target, we've been having maybe some issues from time to time when the monsters like when the boss is like moving around. But yeah, I mean, this one was actually a very underwhelming one. I didn't manage to get anything out of it, which is, you know, it is what it is. Overall, I've seen a lot of complaints about the league mechanic in maps being very underrewarding, and I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm usually kind of like, I'm okay with things being a little bit unrewarding if I feel like they have potential to be like scaled in the end game. But one thing I don't think is that I feel like we don't have too much scalability in the end game at the moment, because when I'm looking at the vendors, right, there's actually not that much that I feel like will scale well in the end game. So like here we just got a bunch of rares, and it's nice that you're able to craft on them, but it's nowhere as powerful. It's just nowhere as powerful as being able to craft with Harvest, right? Harvest is just going to be overall just way stronger, since you're going to be able to essentially, you know, like choose your base, the item level of the base and things like that, get an influence on there and whatnot. So yeah, that is that is for Rog there. And then we got Gwenin, and I think I honestly just, I hate Gwenin. I think it's trash personally, but I mean, I feel like they just wanted to add it as like a little homage to Diablo 2 or whatever, you know, the gambling. Like, I always just come here and click a few things, and I've never gotten anything good out of it. Like, sure, you can get some uniques, and it's going to be interesting to like gamba for a headhunter or something like that. And sometimes you see like a base, like maybe a lacquered garb or something like that you want to gamble on. But one thing I mainly look forward to is like maybe gambling on jewels. So, you know, Viridian jewels. Just grab them whenever possible, because it could be that maybe you get like a natural instinct, or inspired learning, or maybe like a rain of splinters or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, and then we got we got your Danning, which Danning I think is the main core of like how you're supposed to min-max your mechanic. So essentially you're really looking forward to getting these burial medallions so that you can re-roll the shop, right? And then you can buy these currencies here to re-roll the other shops, which I think is the main sort of like selling point for this league. And I think for me it's the most interesting thing, is being able to like reforge the shops and whatnot. So you can see here that I got exotic coinage, although I don't have lesser sun artifacts, so I'm gonna have to like gather some of those before I can actually get that. But you can always like look around. I don't understand why they added so many of these small currencies. It's sort of is what it is. But yeah, the main guy that I want to talk about is Tujin. Tujin is insane. Like here in this window here, I had like 15 chaos, just pure, which is quite a lot at this point in the league. And then just a bunch of other useful stuff. So Tujin is gonna always give you, I think, the best bang for buck in regards of the vendors that you got here, and it's gonna have probably the most scalability into endgame. The only thing that's gonna throttle you is these exotic coinages. I never get these, man. I've been trying so hard to get them. So the best way for me to get them is actually to refresh Danning's shop. As you can see here, getting an exotic coinage whenever possible, to then refresh his shop, to then, you know, buy all the things. And yeah, so actually at the moment the best way to actually min-max this mechanic, I feel like, is going into like the quarry or something like that, where you can get a lot of mechanics per hour, so that you can refresh the shop as much as possible and to spend the currency within that, which is a bit unfortunate because now the quarry has been meta for like 2 years, and every mechanic has just been really good in quarry, and what's the point of even being in maps? And I like mapping, obviously. I like, you know, pushing my character through the atlas and doing that sort of stuff, so I much prefer mapping over doing repetitive, monotonous content. But if currency is like the only and main thing that you want to go for, then I think quarry is going to be the best. I've had some people report to me that they're making like 2x an hour doing quarry. Now that is, you know, obviously subject to how efficient you're doing it, and maybe if you had like a stroke of luck within the 2 hours and you got a few rerolls here for Tujin. But yeah, everything, the whole strategy about making currency for this mechanic is going to be based around Tujin or the logbooks. The logbooks are insane. Don't sell them, run them. Although I have to say that it's really actually difficult to run the logbooks. they're really difficult to run. They're not easy at all. So yeah, I mean, if your build can run them, by all means run them. Otherwise, you could sell them, but don't undersell them. Maybe like 15 chaos for a logbook, or 10 chaos. I'm not sure what they're going for right now. I haven't really bought for any. But yeah, overall, I rate the league mechanic pretty shit in maps, honestly. I never managed to get actually the currencies that I want to reroll the shops that I want, but I feel like it's something that like over time I'll have to sort of experiment with and see, feel it out like over a big sample size of maps, see how many rerolls I get for each of the NPCs here. And yeah, I mean, compared to Ultimatum, it feels like we've been sort of like left ashore, dry. We're like, you know, the rewards are just nowhere as good. But in terms of like how fun the mechanic is, I think it's a lot more fun than Ultimatum. There's a lot more like choice and sort of like, let's just say like problem solving involved in the mechanic, and it actually has like a system that you can min-max rather than just being like, do you want 2 essences or 5 seeds, and then find a boss at 1.5% spawn chance throughout like thousands and thousands of maps. So yeah, mechanically very interesting mechanic, very unrewarding unfortunately at the moment. So a lot of people are going to fall out with it and say it's terrible, which I can understand. People want chaos to upgrade their build early on, and they're gonna feel a lot of frustration in that regard. So they're gonna say it's shit if it doesn't give them chaos. And yeah, I mean, so far I've been enjoying the league. One thing I do want to mention is I know there's been like less player numbers this league on launch especially, but the launch has been just incredibly smooth. Aside for like, I don't know, after like 6 hours or something of me being logged on, like every monster in the game is just going like this. It's literally just running at me like this. And then they're not dying. They're just, when I kill them, they just stand still. They just do this. And it's pretty weird. It gets to a point where like animations are not showing anymore. Monsters become invisible, and like every single monster in the map is just T-posing at me. But then I just restart my game and it works. But honestly, aside for that, I crashed 0 times. I had 0 disconnect issues. Servers have been smooth. Man, the league launch has been really good. It's insane. Like, it's honestly the craziest, smoothest league launch I've ever had. I've upgraded to a 6-link bow. I used a highborn bow in this situation. So what I did for this is I just bought 6-link highborn bow. It was not split yet. Mind you, I got item level 64 plus because that's the only item level that you can roll +3 on. Yeah, I got a base for 65 chaos, and then it was unsplit. I brought Prysic Kimmerl? No. Fenimal Plagued Arachnid, which is the beast to split bows, or split any base. And then I split it, and I sold the duplicate for 70c. I could have probably crafted the second one for more profit, but I just wanted to get rid of it real quick, so... Essentially, then I smashed 3 resonators at it. Then I got +3. My suffixes are full, but eventually there'll be a time where I can actually, you know, clear the suffixes and work on that. I still don't have the craft for Chaos Dot Multi anyways, so that's okay. So yeah, we're currently using a +3 bow, and we've slotted Toxic Rain in there, and it's doing quite well in maps. We are now sort of into red maps. I feel like it's pretty hard, like early red maps, right? I feel like it's pretty hard to push maps this league, but ever since I started, you know, actually doing my leapfrogging stuff, it's been quite easy. I've been getting Conquers and Watchstones pretty fast once I've, you know, started actually progressing and getting some Atlas completion, so that's pretty good. Some pieces that I like to mention are probably like the Raven, the Gull, right? The Raven Mask. This is a really, really nice helmet. I think it's definitely worth the price. It's like 1 or 2 chaos. And the shrines that you get from it are like always up, so you're gonna always have like a positive buff that you can grab as you're mapping. It's pretty nice to get like the element of resistance. It caps you 78 max, or like the speed makes you a little bit zoomier, so that's pretty cool. I managed to pick up a Dures's Defiance for 15 chaos on day 1. They're 90 chaos now, but I think it's still worth the price. They're quite expensive, but yeah. So yeah, I'm using the Dures's Defiance. Gives us a lot of speed and stuff, and it's just overall a really nice chest to have for this build. The skills are Ballista attack time and that sort of stuff. That's pretty cool. The Seagull Fog, yeah. There's 2 more pieces that I had, and these are pretty bad rares. They look awful, right? But they have Chaos Dot Multi. Right now the build is extremely starved for Chaos Dot Multi. It's one of the things about this Ballista build is that we don't really have access to much Chaos Dot Multi, since we're not going towards here and here, right? So Chaos Dot Multi is going to be like our biggest multiplier early on once we want to get some damage. I'm still having issues with stats, so I even had to take this intelligence here. This amulet is just absolutely awful, so that's next on the list to be upgraded. And I'm looking to change my boots as well. I was farming some at series, you can see right here. I didn't drop the boots. They're like 45c at the moment. I don't think I'm really willing to pay that at the moment. But yeah, that's sort of like a recap on the build, what it's been doing. It's been doing pretty well. You know, it's been like a little bit of a struggle pushing into maps and doing the league mechanic. Things are very, very tanky this league, it seems. Or, you know, maybe just my perception of things because of like not having the power of flasks, which we usually had, or maybe running out of mana and things like that, which is something I feel like a lot of builds are suffering. But with an enduring eternal mana flask, you can mostly sustain, like, and it's never really an issue unless you're like me, smashing your flask before you go into a boss fight and you have 0 charges, then it can be pretty bad, right? So yeah. And yeah, Blink Arrow is actually insane now. It's just absolutely insane. I'm using Blink Arrow as my main mobility. We have a lot of attack speed, so it actually feels really smooth. The good thing about it is that it doesn't it doesn't actually share cooldown with Withering Step. So I'm putting Withering Step on left click to get more speed while mapping and applying my Wither stacks and things like that. And I can use Blink Arrow, like basically on cooldown for my mobility. So that's really nice. Yeah, I've gotten the Profane Proxy in my left slot. That is to apply a Despair. I'm gonna have to go for a Despair on hit ring soon so I can get more stats on my ring. Although it's not a bad ring, you know, it's got some resistance and whatnot. But my life pool is really low. I'd like to get more life on that. So yeah, in terms of items I want to upgrade, you know, it's gonna be the rings. It kind of sucks that I'm going for a Dream Fragment, but I feel like Dream Fragment is like way too strong. Freezes are sort of a pain. So yeah, I wanted to sort of mitigate those as much as possible. So Dream Fragment for 2C at the time that I bought it, it's definitely a worthy investment up until now. So it's gonna, you know, it's served me pretty well in that regard. And yeah, that is my update video for day one. And I mean, you know, if you liked the video, if you want more update videos, please leave a like, comment. Don't subscribe. It's a scam. But yeah, come say hello by the Twitch if you like, and appreciate you, chat, for listening. Ramble on about this shit for now. 22 minutes. Appreciate you. Peace. Have a good one. Good luck with the league.